Hey there, everyone. I'm James Milan, and welcome to this special episode of ACMi programming. We are coming to you from the very front door of Helena's here in Arlington Center. I'm sure many of you are familiar with this women's fashion store that's right at the gateway of Arlington Center. I am joined by Katherine, who is the owner of Helena's, and we're here for a very special reason, and that is to celebrate along with Katherine and her staff the 20th anniversary that they're just coming up to of the business. So, so first of all, Katherine, got to say it, congratulations.
Thank you very much. We have been in the store together before talking about other projects in Arlington, so it's always nice to talk to you.
Yeah, I was going to say we are going to talk about the fact that, yes, we have been in the store to talk about the mural that is outside of your, on your outside wall, which is a fantastic piece of public art that we are also always celebrating. But also I want to call to mind, and I even hope that maybe some of our audience has seen an interview that you and I did back in 2020 in the absolute, the maelstrom of COVID at that time.
Yes.
And what we talked about a lot at that time was how you were pivoting, how you were reacting to the new situation here, how you were continuing to deliver to the community by sometimes actually personally delivering.
Yes, I did that.
Yeah, it was part of a series where we were talking to local business owners about their different ways in which they were continuing to demonstrate a necessary resilience in the face of something that none of us had ever seen or been through before. So yours was a prominent voice at that time, and I do want to, start this conversation by, again, 20 years goes back to 2005,
yes.
But I know that's not the first. This is not the first career you had. So tell us what you moved from,
yes.
and also how there's actually maybe some more congruences there than people might think.
Yes, so in my early career, I was a television and corporate video producer. I did that from the time that I moved to Boston until the time that my first child was born, so that was about 10 years. And it was a time when there was a lot of cable television in Boston, and Boston has always been a hub for documentary television. So I worked my way up to be a producer. I worked for Animal Planet. I did some work for WGBH. I did a lot of independent work, and it was great. And I learned how to build a team. I learned how to manage a project. I learned how to pivot when something doesn't go the way it's supposed to, which happens all the time in production. And
yes, we know that.
Yes, all the time. And sometimes managing talent, there are parallels to customer service. So when I opened in 2005, I knew I had a skill set to lead a team. I knew I had a skill set to build a project. It was very different. This is kind of like the set every single day, 7 days a week. But I loved that career. It was very unpredictable and difficult to parent when I was producing. But I see a lot of parallels from that career into this one.
And if we talk about your tenure here, I think there are several different stages we can talk about. I know, for instance, you weren't always in this precise space. We are right at the corner, as I mentioned, of Mass Ave and Franklin Street. Very prominent location. Lots and lots of folks walk by, in fact, and drive by. So just tell us about what changes happened when you moved from elsewhere in the building, kind of more hidden between two different places, and kind of emerged out here onto Mass Ave.
When I opened in 2005, I was partnering with a children's business. This was the owner of Wild Child. She had little kids, I had little kids, and it really made sense for us to open together as kind of like a women's and a children's store. So we did that for a year. And then I decided, look, if I'm really going to make this happen, if I'm really going to turn this into a fashion store, I need to just own it. I need to own my own staff. For the first 5 years we were open, I was in a little space between two family and child focused businesses, and people found me, and I had a loyal following, but was restricted in that we all had to be open the same hours. This was a kind of an open concept building, which this big building lends itself to. But when the business Wild Child moved out of the building in 2010, I made the decision to take their space, to move up front. And it was amazing. My business increased 30% in that 1 year. But it was also that because I had all these windows, they're like billboards, because we're on the corner of Franklin Street and Mass Ave, and there's two busy intersections. There, it's a T intersection here, so cars are stopped all the time. So sometimes we'll get a call from someone who said, I was driving by the store and I saw a sweater in the window, can you hold it for me until tomorrow? And that's priceless. And so I feel like in this building, the evolution has become that we were kind of a destination of three businesses for the first 5 years I was in business. And now Helena's is the destination. Arlington does not have a lot of fashion retail. And so people come to me, they plan their day to come to me, they find the parking, and they come into our building.
I would like to kind of recognize a couple of things. One is, it truly is an accomplishment to be in business, small business, local business, neighborhood business for 20 years. I know you also have a store in Belmont, so
Yes.
It's not just that have been successful here, but as well in our neighboring town, which is great. But I mentioned already, we talked back in COVID, and there were a number of things that you shared at that time, which had to do with your commitment both to the business itself, but also to the community, to the businesses around you, to how it is that you see that symbiosis work. So I'd love for you to talk a little bit more about that.
Owning a small business can be very lonely, and I often talk to people who want to start a business and tell them that one of the most important things for them to do is internally hire people, so people are with them. They have colleagues because they have created a staff, but also to reach outward. So join a local chamber of commerce if it's available in the town, connect with an economic development coordinator, know who the town planner is, but also meet other businesses, including your competition. And I have always done that in Arlington. I was on the board for the Chamber of Commerce for a very long time. Beth Locke and I talk often, and I feel like it's really important that other businesses are healthy. And there can just be some roadblocks sometimes, a sticking point with a landlord, issues with merchandise. And I have reached out to businesses. I reached out to businesses during COVID to be able to check in, because the health of other businesses contributes to my health and my success. That's also true in Belmont Center. And Belmont Center has a lot of businesses that are in a very tight little block. So my two locations are kind of in very different settings. And in both towns, I have been involved with economic development to be able to help other businesses and also just be a part of a conversation, because I learn things all the time of things, ways that I have been doing something that someone says there's a better way to do it. And it's one of those things sometimes when you're like, oh my gosh, I never knew that. But you don't know unless you're having a conversation. And there's a lot of things that are very specific to small business.
So another thing about COVID is that you and I talked before we went on camera that in a sense your 20 years can be divided in a number of ways, but let's just say there were the 15 years before COVID hit, and then there's been the 5 years of COVID and then coming out of it. So just talk a little bit about, because I know there has been a profound effect on the way that you approach business, the way that you and your staff kind of tackle
Yes.
issues, et cetera,
Yes.
that came from that COVID time. So again, because others are also dealing with the same thing,
Yes.
share a little bit of your experience and the lessons that you've kind of garnered.
So for all of us, business owners and the world, COVID changed everything. It changed how we interacted with each other, how we couldn't react with each other, how everybody operated in the world professionally. Even if you were still working fully during that time, things were different. And for small businesses, there was a shutdown in the middle of March 2020. And I had both locations of my store at that time. I had just very newly moved my store in Belmont to Belmont Center. But we had a set way of doing things that worked. We were both open at both stores 7 days a week. And COVID so profoundly shook things up that when we came back and opened in June of 2020, we opened differently. We were not open 7 days a week. We had different hours. We had a highly reduced staff. And I was very protective of my staff. So we were having conversations with customers about making sure that those safety protocols happened. Conversations with boundaries that we might not have put up before COVID. And it has loosened this kind of needing to be right about everything. Because in COVID, we just didn't know what the right answer was. So this season, we did our summer sale a little bit differently. And when I was talking to my managers about structuring it differently this year, I said, we don't have to do it the way we've always done it. We can do whatever we want. This is our business. This is our space. We did it differently. It's been more successful. And so that reoccurring theme of we can do whatever we want absolutely came out of COVID. We have a flexibility. If something comes up at the store and we have to be closed for a day, we can just kind of accept that, and our customers can accept that. I would say pre-2020, we just wouldn't do it.
You wouldn't have taken a chance like that. It would have felt like a chance, whereas now you realize.
And giving up some of that rigidity has helped my business tremendously.
So I'm so glad that you mentioned your summer sale. I want to make sure that as we are here to celebrate your 20 years in business, you get to talk
James.
about the business.
Yes.
So tell us about, just what's going on right now, what kind of place this is, what kind of, audience you draw, all that kind of thing.
Oh, there's so much to say about that. This is a destination for people who are looking to find a way to express themselves through fashion. That can be someone who absolutely loves clothes and loves shopping, and someone who doesn't, because we know how to help both people. And the way that I buy, the way that my managers help me buy, is with a big focus on print and color. So it's really happy in here. Sometimes if someone isn't even, there's all this color, but they are coming in to buy a pair of black pants, it's still delightful to walk through
aesthetically
here.
right. Yes, it is
it's
extremely pleasing, I will say that.
Oh, thank you. It's exciting.
I think that's pretty clear.
Well, we try to do that. And most of my Arlington customers live in Arlington. We've done a couple of rounds where we've taken zip codes, and it's mostly our zip code. It's like 70% our zip code. I just have a lot of faithful, long-time customers who shop here. So we carry a lot of separates, which means like tops and bottoms, wardrobe builders, but I always have a collection for work. When someone comes in and says, I just got a promotion, I just got a new job, I'm giving a TED Talk, I'm retiring, all that we love all of that because we have an opportunity to celebrate with them. And we can say, like, what do you want to convey? If you just became the principal of a local school, how do you want to change what you're wearing to be able to convey that sense of leadership? If you're giving a TED Talk, sometimes I'm like, are you sitting? How low is the stage?
Wow.
All of
Sounds
this
like you've dealt
stuff.
with TED
I
Talks
have.
on
I
more than
really
one
have.
occasion. Wow.
I have a customer who gives multiple TED Talks, and she always comes to me to find clothes. And this is an honor to be able to be this deeply knitted into people's lives. And, sometimes it's my daughter's getting married and I have a rehearsal dinner. Sometimes a friend of mine who shops here all the time, her father just passed away, and she came in for something to wear to the funeral and bought her aunt in. And we figured it out because there's just needs. We all have to get dressed in the morning, and there's a decision to be made, and I'm happy to be a part of that. When people come in and say that their closet is full of Helena's clothes, that just lights me up. And I think that the demographic is pretty broad. Part of that is that we have a lot of space here in Arlington, so we're able to carry a lot of different styles that suit a lot of different people.
Let's kind of finish up here by talking broadly about the culture that you've created. And by that, I mean, you had mentioned when we were talking earlier, I can't remember whether it was on camera or not, about the retention that you have among staff members, which is always, again, a challenge for small businesses in a lot of different kinds of contexts. So there is that. What's your special sauce for that kind of thing? And then also, what are the other kind of key ingredients that you would cite for what makes Helena's what it is, not only for your customers, but for the folks who work here?
Well, 20 years is definitely a mark of longevity. And in that time, there's been successes, there have been things that were really challenging. Just to sometimes even just internally, not just with big momentous things like the recession or like COVID. But I think consistently, I have hired people to help me run the business that have really important and vital roles at the store. And there are things that I don't do, meaning these people have leadership positions, they have a lot of autonomy, they have agency. And that, I think, has helped me to create retention here because people like to stay. Jessica, who is the manager of this store, has been with me since 2007. My Belmont manager has been with me since 2015. And we have conversations all the time. It's kind of just one big continuous conversation. In terms of our engagement with customers, we're really friendly and very welcoming. We invite people to come in and try things on and kind of explore the store, building up a relationship where they are a customer, they are purchasing things from the store, and they're a regular customer. But I see that as a relationship. We are in service because we're a service business, but I have a very high expectation that the customers who are shopping here have really respectful interactions with my staff. And because I have that expectation, my staff knows that I will support them and I will stand behind them when they make decisions, and they make very, very good decisions. I have built a relationship with customers that I think they like that genuineness at both stores, that they can have a conversation with a staff member about. Sometimes a customer has gone on a vacation and she packed her suitcase with clothes from Helena's. And when she comes in, we want to hear about it. I want to hear where she wore that dress and how fabulous it was. I want to know how many compliments she got on the pair of print pants that she wore when she went to Mexico. And that's part of the relationship, is that it's ongoing. And I think we have customers who have a chiropractic appointment across the street, or they're going to the dentist, and they always come in after that standing appointment because we've become just a part of their day.
And you described Helena's as a fashion store, and that makes a lot of sense as I look around.
Yes.
But I think it's kind of self-evident that that your customer base, the entirety of your customers, are women. And was that always, is that simply just has always been the vision? Or did that kind of evolve from the very origins of Helena's being we're a store in 500 square feet right now.
Yes.
And as we expand, we might go in different directions or whatever. At any point, has it been, has the vision always been we are a store for women and a fashion store for women?
Yes, with some changes along the way. So when I opened in 2005 and I was surrounded essentially by kids-owned businesses, I carried a maternity collection. So I had regular women's clothing and fashion, and then about 30% of my business was maternity. And I was really successful. I won a Best of Boston award for Best Maternity Store, and it always sold well. But when those businesses moved, I saw this opportunity to create an entire store for women's fashion. And it was just, that is a way that I pivoted because it just didn't make sense anymore. Even though it was lucrative, it didn't mesh with people who were coming into the building anymore. So I expanded to carry more women's fashion. I definitely have carried a little bit more like casual and athletic over the years. Everything in here I have seen in person 6 to 9 months before. Often I try it on. So I'm very invested. When I say it's curated, that's not lingo. It literally happens. I was at a show in Boston yesterday, and everything in here, more than one person has made a decision about whether it's worthy to be hanging in here and also worthy to go home with somebody. I do think because I'm a specialty store, like women's clothing is enough. And I feel like I have honed in that skill a lot over 20 years of business.
All right, so I want to thank you for inviting us in. I want to just kind of recap that what I understand about something that other businesses and folks considering going into business, et cetera, could take from this are really, again, that keys to resilience in business have to do with the kind of culture you create among your employees and with your customers, and then a willingness to take some chances and an understanding that there isn't a right way to do things, and then the ability to pivot as circumstances change and as you're having to figure out something that was, in one case, as already mentioned, completely new and absolutely uncharted territory for all of us. Anything that should be added to that kind of description of what makes Helena's?
I think there's joy in this, and I think when my staff and I were separated for 3 months from each other, that was a very joyful reunion, even though it was incredibly stressful, And I think it reignited the fact that we're doing this because we enjoy it. And I think there's a lot of people who want to create a business and go into a business, and I think it's certainly an underlying theme is this something that you enjoy doing outside of what your former career may have been, and then being willing to take those risks and make those changes within that framework.
Great. Well, 20 years, a real milestone.
Thank you.
I have very little doubt that you will also hit your 30-year and 40-year milestone. I don't think I'll be here interviewing you at that point, but I do think that you kind of have really hit the groove here with something that both resonates with the Arlington community, and that is going to be an ongoing business and pleasure for people for a long time. So
thank you very
well
much.
done,
Thank
and we look forward to talking to you again at some point in the future.
Me too.
Katherine Bensky is the owner of Helena's here in Arlington and also in Belmont, and I'm James Milan. We are glad to celebrate this event with Katherine and her staff, and also with you. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you next time.
ACMi productions are only made possible with your support. Visit patreon.com/ACMi to learn how you can help.